Hey, I'm T.A. Charlie, and welcome to The Road to Concord with Professor Joe Bakanovic. Homeroom is on Rumble. You just go to Rumble and search channels for The Road to Concord. It's one word. When you find it, you go ahead and you click follow. It might mean you got to set up an account, but it's fast, it's easy, it's free. I did it, you can do it. For those technologically challenged members of the class, you can also catch us on Facebook and YouTube. After the show, it's uploaded to Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and BitChute. Just look for The Road to Concord. You can go to the blog page, that's theroadtoconcord.com. That's where you'll find all your show notes, study notes, and handouts for the class. The phone is working. If you don't know how to call in, email us and we'll think about it. Finally, you can email a professor at joe@theroadtoconcord.com. He's a little slow, but he'll eventually get around to emailing you back. This show is currently mainly listener-sponsored. If you are interested in advertising your business on the show, please email us. With that said, we ask for your participation on a value-for-value basis. If you find our show of value to you, then you provide an equivalent portion of your labor and treasure through the donate link on the Road to Concord blog page, the show description on Rumble, and in the comments on the other streams. And thank you to all of you who have and will support this show.
I like that, Charlie. That was very well done. I noticed that you remade it, man. That's perfect. We're going to hold on to that for a while. I like that a lot. That one's good. I didn't know that was coming, folks, and it's actually a very welcome pick me up to the day. Welcome. Good morning. It's Monday, Manic Monday, 18th of August. This is show number 536 on the Road to Concord. And I am in a rather sober, somber, serious mood today. I'm just gonna get right into it. There's no way to sugarcoat what's on my mind today. I'm worried. I mean, a lot of us are worried nowadays. This is not going to be a happy, joy show, unless, of course, we play the Narwhal song, which Natasha might not let us do because it's got some off-colored humor in it. I like it though. It's got a snazzy beat. I see some familiar patterns repeating in politics, and they worry me because I know the sound of this music. I've seen it before, and I worry for my countrymen. Let me share a story with you, and this is how I know I'm on target. This is a story from the news feeds this morning, and I'd already had this idea going. It was already in the outline for the show today when I saw this. This is from the Daily Wire. It's Daniel Chaitin, August 17th, 2025. It says Trump weaponization czar puts January 6th committee associates on notice. What's that got to do with where I'm going today? Weaponization czar. How many of you right-wingers out there, Republicans or otherwise, got cranky with Obama calling everybody a czar? Communication czar, this czar, that czar. Everybody was a czar. We were all cranky with that because, it smacks of dictatorial Russia. And we didn't like it. Well, it seems it's okay to have a czar as long as it's your czar and your man is appointing them. So I'm wondering, where are the right's principles right now? Because I see President Trump doing a whole bunch of stuff by presidential decree, executive order. Whoops. Don't know how that happened. I clicked the wrong button again. But by executive order. And a lot of these executive orders, I struggle to find the constitutional basis for them. I don't see it. I mean, I like what he's doing, don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean that I endorse it. I agree with what he's doing, but I realize that there are other proper ways to get this stuff done. I just realize that it's not going to happen. The Republican Party is not going to do what needs to be done. So why should I listen to the political right anymore when they talk about principles or the founding fathers or founding philosophy or anything? Why should I listen to them when they're no better than the left? In fact, prove to me that they are better than the left. Yes, I know. I see all these things. Democrats believe in this, Republicans believe in that. But no. When I watch what you do as a party, no, you don't believe in that. You talk a good game, but that's all you do. You don't believe in it. You're not an anti-abortion party. You've promoted and elected one of the most pro or abortion tolerant presidents that the Republican Party has had in a while. Trump hasn't changed his mind on that. He doesn't really care about abortion. You've actually promoted a president who is very JFK. Well, he was a Democrat. How far left has your party drifted? And the whole time you're telling me that you're for the founding fathers and you're right wing, but you're not. You have no principles. The emperor has no clothes here, Republicans. Where are the gains that you've made since Trump got in office? Oh, Joe, you haven't been paying attention. We got all sorts of winning going on. So much winning. We're tired of winning. Really? Really? How many of those gains have been put into law? How many of them have been codified into law? Well, as soon as you're going to get some things done, the House and the Senate go on recess, but they do some things that allow them to say that even though everybody's at home and they're on recess, they're not on recess. So Trump can't appoint his recess appointments, do all sorts. The Republican Party has control of the House and Senate. Oh, the Democrats pulled a sneaky trick. No, they didn't. You let them do this. The Republican Party allowed it. And then they blame the Democrats. How very progressive of them. I see this all the time. It's all show and no dough. They're not doing what they were elected to do. So why should I keep voting for them? It's a serious question. Why should I start looking to the government for any solutions? It's all kabuki theater to me. And now here's the part I'm wondering about. Is this intentional, folks? Is it intentional? What do I mean by that? And why would I say that? Well, let me play something out for you. Pretend, make believe. Pretend that the Republican Party is the right wing of the progressive bird. It's the right wing of the uniparty. And it's not really an opposition party. It just pretends to be. Let's just pretend for a moment that Carroll Quigley was correct in his book, Tragedy and Hope, and that's what we actually have. We are under one party rule that pretends to be two different opposition parties. Let's say that we get into a meeting with our uniparty, both sides, and I say, you know what? Right wing, you pretend to be doing all this stuff. We're going to kick and scream and moan and harp and act like we're throwing a temper tantrum about everything your president's doing. And we're going to scream about how it's destroying democracy and how to heck with the rules. Or we're going to do whatever we have to do to win so that we can keep our progressive voter base happy. But the people that you control, you go ahead and make them happy. Make them think that they're getting things done, although we're not going to codify any of it. And you on the right, you keep blaming us. Go ahead. Keep letting us get away, all together, we'll keep doing the things that we want to do. But on the right, you pretend like you're trying to stop it, but you have no power because you don't have enough Republicans in the House and Senate. Too many rhinos. And we'll play this game for the next 14 months. And then, lo and behold, we will have a massive Democrat wave in the midterm elections, and we'll take over the House and Senate. And then you can blame all the infighting and all the rhinos and everything else and start screaming how you need more R's to stop this. But nothing will have been done in that time. And we'll turn Trump into a lame duck president. And then we'll start our investigations, and we'll run more fake news in the media, and we'll finally censor the right-wing media, and we'll crack down, and we'll do exactly what we've been promising our base we're going to do. We're going to take over by hook or by crook and make it so that you can never elect a Republican ever again. And the Republican Party can scream and caterwaul and moan and say, you just got to give us more Republicans, just got to give us more Republicans. Only this time we'll never allow them to take over again. We'll never allow another well, wait a minute. The Republican Party allowed Trump. They didn't have to. They allowed it. Oh, no, Joe, they tried to stop it. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They could have if they'd have wanted to. You see, a party is a private thing. It's not public. It's not controlled by the government. It's a private corporation, and voluntary membership in that corporation, they can kick you out. The Republican Party said it could have said, oh, no, we don't want Trump. He's out of here. This is our nominee. Well, the caucus didn't allow them to do that. Trust me, they could have done that. We saw Kamala selected, not elected. Well, they did nothing wrong. The bylaws of the Democratic Party allow that. Republicans could do that too, and they have in the past. That's how you got George H.W. Bush on the ticket under Reagan. He wasn't elected by the delegates at that. He was selected by the Republican Party. The Republicans can and will do this. It's one of the reasons I believe we're being played. You've got 14 months, MAGA, to get everything that you want into law. And after that, I don't think you've got any time left. And this fits the pattern. This fits the pattern we've seen before. I've seen this happen so many times. And why? Because it works. Most of you listening to me right now are probably yelling at me now. You're good Republicans. I told Charlie by the end of the show, before the show started, I told him by the end of the show, we'll have 4 people watching. Him, me, Natasha, Natasha's boyfriend. Maybe. He might even leave. So there's something else going on. And I didn't realize it until I was watching a video by Anonymous. It's got the V mask. It's a AI-driven video, but I almost shared it on my Facebook pages, and for some reason I didn't want to, because I think it's because I realized what they were actually telling me. So all the things that are going on in the world right now, and all this winning that's going on, I have a question for you. Do you really think Epstein killed himself? What? Where'd that come from, Joe? Well, not the B. Polls show interest in Epstein file controversy has faded. Trump's approval rating is unharmed. We were distracted. Look, squirrel, shiny, bells, whistles. Go over there. Don't look at the Epstein thing, because that was costing Trump. Trump was losing his political clout. He was getting hurt. He was calling his MAGA supporters a bunch of withals because you were worried about Epstein. And he never promised you to do anything about Epstein. Bull. He was gaslighting you. He was acting like a good Democrat, good progressive. And then all of a sudden we have all these other things going on. This thing with child molestation is not new. Here's a story. Mel Gibson has been fighting this fight longer than you think. This is from The Blaze. This August 6th, 2025. Garin Christopher Kalustian. And it's just an article about how Gibson has been living according to his Catholic faith and fighting the fight against Hollywood. But if you go and you Google Gibson's interview against the pedophiles, you'll find it's been scrubbed from the internet. Only every now and then you'll find it reposted again, because it does exist. And you'll find quotes by Gibson, and the fact checkers will tell you he never said that. Except I was able to, somebody reposted it in 3 different parts. I grabbed one of them. It doesn't have the quote that I'm looking for in it, but it is 1/3 of that interview. I've seen it before. If and when you find it, you got to snag it down off the internet yourself. You got to download it because they scrub this. As fast as we could put it up, AI scrubs it now. Because Gibson was telling the world that Hollywood is run by a bunch of pedophile Satanists. And he was telling us that 20-something years ago. That's why he got blacklisted. Well, I've also shared with you that video by the Hollywood special effects artist that told you the same thing. Nobody wants to listen. Nobody wants to, we scream, show us the Epstein files, but we don't do anything about it. And it finally dawned on me why they're not going to ever show us the Epstein files. It's not because their names are in it. Not necessarily. Could be. It's not because it'll bring down the system. It would. Maybe. I don't know that you and I care enough about it to do anything about it anymore. We'd probably just yell and scream some more until they gave us some new candy and bread and circuses to play with. And, oh, look, another squirrel. And we'd run over there and bark at that squirrel on the tree and forget all about the squirrel we were barking at. But the anonymous video, it finally dawned on me. If you're a Republican and you're now in power and you get a hold of all these documents that they're telling us they have, and I'm about to explain to you why you haven't seen any perp walks. Pay attention. Like my drill instructor would say, eyeballs. Everybody pay attention. This is going to be worth the price of admission. You know why that they're not arresting anybody? You know why you haven't seen the Epstein files information? Because you get in power and then you suddenly realize, I can use this information for power myself. And then you tell yourself, which is exactly why I did not share the anonymous video, because this is what they said. Then you tell yourself, oh, instead of arresting these people with this information, I could use it to bring down the whole system and do real good. So you start using the information that Epstein had to blackmail them, to make them do what you want them to do. And in the process, you prove that you're no different than Epstein and the people that were running him. You want the power, not the righteousness. You want the power, not justice. You tell yourself it's for justice. You tell yourself you're doing good, just like the people who started all of this. You're no different. You are the right wing of the left wing bird, or of the progressive bird. Yes, you believe you're a god. That's right, Natasha. And I think that that's why you're not going to see any of this. Rather than arrest these people, they're going to use what they have on them to get them to do what they want them to do. The problem with that is, if you ever fall out of power, those people are going to make sure you can never do that to them again. And then, even if you do manage to get them to change, all you've done is address the puppet. You've done nothing to the puppeteer. Of course, in our case, we don't even know who the puppeteer is, or at least we won't acknowledge him. I know who or what it is. And I sit sometimes and I think, how many years have we been at this now, Charlie? Are we coming up on the 3rd or the 4th year of this show? I think it's the 3rd.
Yeah, I have to check. Yeah, 21. Yeah,
We've
I
been
think
at
it's
it a
4.
while. Is it 4?
I think 2021. I have to go look at my archives, but I think we
And
started
how
in
many
fall of 21.
people have fallen away from us because they don't like our anti-Republican message? And how many people still want to give us a hard time? Those that are still with us still want to give us a hard time. And where have we ever been wrong?
Yeah, we've got.
I mean, we might have had a few of the wrong sprinkles on our ice cream cone, but we still had the ice cream cone.
If I were a 6-fingered man, I could I could put the number watching us right now, at least according to what it's reporting right now, on 2 hands. But I'm only a 5-fingered, so we're a little bit over that, but not much.
Well,
But
that's
yeah,
because
it's,
that's because
but
we're not speaking truth.
we were talking before the show, and as you were saying that, I'm like, what you said about Gog and Magog? Yeah.
It's still the people groups that the prophet named. It is.
Yes.
But yeah. All right, folks. Thanks, Charlie. If you've been here any length of time, you know you're liable to be pushed into a pew. Well, I'm about to shove you into a philosophical pew and a religious one at the same time. Philo-religion. It's called theology. This is from Joe Hoff's website. This is John L. Keckelman Jr., a rudderless morality on a shoreless sea by Joe Hoff, August 12th, 2025. I love the AI generated art there, taking a modern day ship and making it look like a sailing ship with an American flag on it. I'm tempted to read this whole post to you, but I'm not going to. I will just stick it in the comments. Natasha, would you, if you can, snag that? And I'll tell you what, let me just put it into Rumble for everybody. But put that in the permanent comments section of Rumble for me, please, Natasha. So this is about how America has lost its moral grounding. And they're talking about how on October 11th, 1798, John Adams wrote the Massachusetts Militia. It's actually from a speech he gave. He says, "We have no government armed with the power capable of contending with human passions unbridled by morality and religion. Avarice, ambition, revenge, or gallantry would break the strongest cords of our Constitution as a whale goes through a net. Our Constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. It is wholly inadequate to the government of any other." And he says, tragically, the whale envisioned by Adams has broken that net. Profanity and vulgar speech are unrestrained and evidences national ignorance. Courtesy respecting the intrinsic value of human dignity is gone. Personal honor is scorned. The public servant has morphed into the public elite. Truth has stumbled and fallen in the streets. That's biblical language, folks. This is a philosophy post written with biblical language. He continues, he says, "The current moral environment of our nation reminds me of Elisha Gray's comment. He was speaking in terms of scientific reality, but the general application is applicable. It says, a man who is all theory is like a rudderless ship on a shoreless sea. Theories and speculations may be indulged in with safety only as long as they are based on facts that we can go back to at all times and know that we are on solid ground. This is why Marxism and socialism do not work. They are not based in objective reality, something that we can prove or test." He goes on to President Washington's farewell speech. I'm not going to read that to you right now. He goes on and he gives us a list of several places where it shows practical examples of what he's discussing in here. But this is the part that caught me. It's right in here. He says, historically, religion and morality control or condemn a nation's history. Those elected to legislate, execute, and adjudicate the national compass are responsible for the nation's trajectory. But also in our representative republic, each citizen is obliged to make sure that the national compass remains true north in allegiance to the Almighty. This is astutely noted is the secular world, devoid of the preceptions which the city of God brings to it, is like a rudderless ship on a treacherous sea. There's a point down here. Let me see where I was talking about. There it is. A little farther down. It says, long ago, a nation struggled with a devolving religion and morality. A prophet was sent saying, there is hope for your future. But this hope depended on the citizens answering the query, how long will you go here and there? This is Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 17. And the author asks America, how long will you go here and there, chasing after false gods? How long will you flounder on the sea of chaos without a proper rudder? How long will you continue to elect politicians who will twist and turn the law for selfish purposes? How long will you support those who can rationalize anything to secure their immorality? How long will you applaud those who are intellectually ignorant and live in a moral morass? And he continues. And it reminded me of a page on our blog. Blow this up. I want y'all to read through this with me. This is theroadtoconcord.com. Go up to original intent, Christian founding. Nobody wants to read this, right? Because our founders were just deists. They weren't Christians. All the way down here. In the founders' words, the essential role of religion in public and civic life. And I introduced that. But then here are some of their words. This is John Quincy Adams, President of the United States, July 4th, 1821, from the pulpit of the American Revolution by John Wingate Thornton, 1860. America's God and Country, William Ferreter, page 18. John Quincy Adams says, the highest glory of the American Revolution was this. It connected in one indissoluble bond the principles of civil government with the principles of Christianity. The United States of America were no longer colonies. They were an independent nation of Christians. He goes on, John Quincy Adams, July 4th, 1837. The Declaration of Independence first organized the social compact on the foundation of the Redeemer's mission upon earth and laid the cornerstone of human government upon the precepts of Christianity. They were following the Bible in the establishment of Israel. That was their pattern. Their words, not mine. John Adams, the Atlas of the American Revolution, he says, the general principles on which the fathers achieved independence were the general principles of Christianity. I will avow that I then believed and now believe that those general principles of Christianity are as eternal and immutable as the existence and attributes of God. Adams, again, to the military address. We've already read that one about our Constitution. John Adams' Thoughts on Government from 1776. It is the duty of all men in society, publicly and at the stated season, to worship the supreme being. He says duty. The great creator, the preserver of the universe, and no subject shall be hurt, molested, or restrained in his person, liberty, or estate for worshiping God in the manner most agreeable to the dictates of his own conscience, or for his religious profession or sentiments, provided he doth not disturb the public peace or obstruct others in their religious worship. The political left worships themselves. They worship man. They destruct the public peace. They obstruct it and destroy it in everything they do. They're terrorists. Just look at what they're doing. And that's what Adams was talking about. Adams also says, this is from, let's see, it's from the collection of his works. The book is named down there for its Cambridge Belcrick Press. But anyhow, it's cited here for you. John Adams says, the idea of infidelity, that's non-belief in God. That's atheism. That's how he uses that in the founding times. The infidelity is atheism. So the idea of atheism cannot be treated with too much resentment or too much horror. The man who can think of it with patience is a traitor in his heart and ought to be extirpated as one who adds the deepest hypocrisy to the blackest treason. Well, all forms of secular humanism are atheistic at their heart. And Adams just called you a traitor. You're treasonous if you pursue socialism in any form. Adams again. Suppose a nation in some distant, and this is him writing to Thomas Jefferson late in life. This is from his letter to Jefferson on the June 28th, 1813. Suppose a nation in some distant region should take the Bible for their only law book, and every member should regulate his conduct by the precepts there exhibited. Every member would be obliged in conscience to temperance. That means don't drink too much and save your money. Frugality is save your money. In industry, work. To justice, kindness, and charity towards his fellow man. And to piety, love, and reverence toward Almighty God. What a utopia, what a paradise would this religion be? Now, something that you've run into this before. You've run into this letter. If you've ever heard the scoffers saying that Adams is writing about, oh, what a hell it would be for religion and all this stuff. And it says, see, Adams hated religion because he was talking about how the Christian religion would be hell. Guess what? That quote about the Christian religion or religiosity being hell comes from this exact same letter. And it is written before the paragraph I just quoted. They quote that out of context. What he was saying is if you take a perverted religion that does not remain true to its purpose, that would be hell. Then he turns around and says, if you were to follow Christianity, as the Bible explains it, it would lead to utopia and paradise on earth, or at least in the region that was living it. I wonder how or why scoffers feel so intent or necessitate, feel the need to malign the founding fathers to the point that they misquote them for their own purposes. I mean, I know the answer, but Adams again, the general principles on which the founding fathers achieved independence were the only principles in which the beautiful assembly of young gentlemen could unite, meaning the founding fathers could only unite around those general principles. Adams continues, and what were those general principles? I answer, the general principles of Christianity, in which all these sects, meaning denominations of Christianity, were united. Now I will avow that I then believed and now believe that those general principles of Christianity are as eternal and immutable as the existence and attributes of God, and that those principles of liberty are as intolerable as human nature and our terrestrial mundane system. Unalterable, excuse me. He's saying that they're part of natural law. Samuel Adams did this. I'm not going to read all of these. This is lengthy, but I want to go down to a few more. This is Elias Boudouat. He served as president of the Congress. He signed the Peace Treaty of Paris to end the war for independence. That's another one where the Peace Treaty of Paris invokes the Trinity in the signing for the Declaration, and Adams signed it. So when you see that Adams says we are in no way a Christian nation, you're being asked to believe that, and that's in the treaty with the that is stated in the treaty with the Barbary Pirates. There are like 11 existing copies of that treaty now. You only find that language in one of them, the copy that was given to the Sultan of the Barbary Pirates. That was probably put there to make it acceptable to the Muslims. That language is not in the copy of the treaty we have. So you're being asked that the same John Adams that said we're not a Christian nation also signed the Treaty of Paris invoking the Blessed Holy Trinity. I don't think so. And Elias Boudouat was there with Adams. He was one of the three signers. He writes this: let us enter on this important business under the idea that we are Christians on whom the eyes of the world are now turned. Let us earnestly call and beseech him, for Christ's sakes, to preside in our councils. We can only depend on all the powerful influence of the Spirit of God, whose divine aid and assistance it becomes us as Christian people most devoutly to implore. Therefore, I move that some minister of the gospel be requested to attend this Congress every morning in order to open the meeting with prayer. He also says, if the moral character of a people degenerate, their political character must follow. These considerations should lead to an attentive solicitude to be religiously careful in our choice of all public officers and judge of the tree by its fruits. Not what they say, but what they do, which is why I am no longer a Republican. Charles Carroll, signer of the Declaration and member of the Continental Congress, says, without morals, a republic cannot subsist any length of time, won't continue. They, therefore, who are decrying the Christian religion, whose morality is so sublime and pure, which ensures to the good eternal happiness and undermining the solid foundations of morals, the best security for duration of free government. These are the supposed deists that didn't believe in Christianity. I'm going to read this one for you, and I don't know if you were watching the page, if you saw who wrote it, but I'm just going to read this for you. It says, you desire to know something of my religion. It is the first time I have been questioned upon it. But I cannot take your curiosity amiss, and shall endeavor in a few words to gratify it. Here is my creed. I believe in one God, the creator of the universe, that he governs by his providence, that he ought to be worshipped, that the most acceptable service we render to him is doing good to his other children, that the soul of man is immortal and will be treated with justice in another life, respecting its conduct in this one. These I take to be the fundamental points in all sound religion, and I regard them as you do in whatever sect I meet with them. That's Benjamin Franklin, the supposed deist. His creed right there, his self-confession of his religion, does not meet the definition of a deist. Meets the definition of a Jew, if you read more of his word. This is the same Benjamin Franklin who wrote, "As to Jesus of Nazareth, my opinion of him, of whom you particularly desire, I think his system of morals and his religion, as he left them to us, the best world the world has ever seen and ever likely to see." Patrick Henry tells us that bad men cannot make good citizens. It is impossible that a nation of infidels or idolaters, that is, atheists and people who are following other pagans, atheists and pagans, should be a nation of free men. He's telling you that's not possible. That's what we've become. He also says virtue, morality, and religion. This is the armor, my friend, and this alone that renders us invincible. These are the tactics we should study. If we lose these, we are conquered, fallen indeed. So long as our manners and principles remain sound, there is no danger. Well, they haven't remained sound. Thomas Jefferson: had the doctrines of Jesus been preached always as pure as they came from his lips, the whole civilized world would now have been Christian. He also said, I am a real Christian, that is to say, a disciple of the doctrines of Jesus. But he says, very different from the Platonists, who call me infidel and themselves Christians and preachers of the gospel, while they draw all the characteristic dogmas from what its author never said nor saw. In other words, I'm a true disciple of the Messiah, not a Pharisee or a Sadducee. I could keep going. This is all founding fathers talking about how important our faith is to maintaining our country, maintaining liberty. Christianity, this is Benjamin Rush, one of the most famous founding fathers of his time. He was more well thought of than Jefferson. He's one of the top three, according to the colonists at that time. Christianity is the only true and perfect religion, and that in proportion as mankind adopts it, its principles, and obeys its precepts, they will be wise and happy. All of this. We keep going. George Washington, Daniel Webster, defender of the Constitution, Noah Webster. And these last ones, these quotes are where they're attacking Thomas Paine for writing The Age of Reason. They demolish him. John Witherspoon, he's a signer of the Declaration of Independence, member of the Continental Congress, president of Princeton College, and pastor. He says, shun as a contagious pestilence those especially whom you perceive to be infected with the principles of infidelity, that don't believe in God, or enemies to the power of religion. Whoever is an avowed enemy of God, I scruple not to call him an enemy to his country. It's a sermon on May 17th, 1776. Folks, I could go on and on. What good does it do us? What good does it do us? We no longer want to accept. We invoke the name of the founding fathers, but we will not refuse to actually let them tell us how they did, what they believed, and why. We'll invoke their name because we want the emotion attached to it, to be attached to our agenda. We won't bend the knee to the founders. Then there ain't no way in God's green earth we're going to bend the knee to the Creator as they did. And you know what happens? You have a void. You're going to get secular humanism. Secular humanism will open the void to other religions that believe in false gods. Secular humanism believes man is its own God. Well, if I have 100 secular humanists, just like 100 libertarians, I have 100 little gods on my hand. They cannot stand. Secular humanism will never stand. It can't, because it has too many gods at war with each other. So what will happen is something else will come in and take over from it. Now, do we have any idea what this might be? Well, first of all, here's the secular humanism in this country. This is from Not the Bee. It says, Milwaukee councilman says the quiet part out loud. We know that the only solution is to bring industry under public and worker ownership. Okay, that's the start of the pattern. We need socialism in the United States first. Well, they've had socialism in Europe for a while. Is it in control right now over there? No, it's not. This is from Gateway Hispanic, The Strategy of Taquilla. I've told you about this before. This is the strategy of spreading Islam. This is jihad by lies, where you move into a country, use its system against it, lie, steal, cheat, do whatever, and reproduce as quickly as you can until you take over the country. This is happening to Europe right now. This is happening in the UK right now. They started out secular humanist. That made them weak. Now Islam is taking over. Nigel Farage warns of, this is from Gateway Pundit, Nigel Farage warns of national emergency as thousands more migrants invade Britain's shores chanting Allahu Akbar. Britain is being overrun by these folks to the point that we have this also from the Gateway Pundit, a lawless kingdom in England. Reform UK, United Kingdom MP or Minister of something or other, Puchin, he says it's no surprise that vigilante groups are patrolling the streets and targeting rampant crime. What's happening, if you read the story, and I've been keeping up with this, what's happening is that Muslims are doing what Muslims do. They are raping and sexually assaulting non-Muslim women at will, because Muhammad says that that is the right of a Muslim man. They see nothing wrong with it. So they're just doing what they're allowed to do by their God. And the United Kingdom's government is not doing anything about it. And if the United Kingdom's citizens speak up about it, they're being put in jail. That's coming to the shores here on America. And in some parts of this country, it's already here. You've got them in the Congress. You've got one running for mayor of New York City. You've got Muslims. Now they're pretending to be socialists. They're not. They're lying. It's Taquilla. I have shown you the book Unholy Alliance, where the secular humanists in this country, in the left wing, aligned themselves with Islam. And they thought, well, that's just a bunch of backwards goat herders. We'll be able to control them. We'll take their money. We'll take power. We'll get rid of them. And it's not the way it's going to happen. It's not the way it ever happens. It's not the way it's happening in Europe. It's not the way it's going to happen here. Charlie was talking about Gog and Magog. You go and you read Ezekiel. All the peoples and land masses and groups named in that battle of Gog and Magog are today Islamic. By the way, the 4 colors of the horseman are the colors of Islam: red, white, black, and green. Sickly colored green. Those are the 4 colors of the horseman. The pale horse, it actually says, it uses the Greek word that's the base of chlorophyll, green. It means green. It means a sickly colored green, color of death, pestilence. Well, those nations are Islam coming against Israel. That's the 4th beast coming against Israel, just like it did when the northern kingdom was destroyed by the Assyrians, by the southern kingdom by Babylon. The Assyrians and Babylon is the heart of Israel. It's the leopard, bear, lion, beast. It's the 3 unclean spirits like toads from that region of the world. We've gone over this on this show and in We Who Are Lost. I can't get Christians to see it. I don't expect to get Christians to see it. But what breaks my heart is I can't get the remnant to see it either. Everybody has their own view of how to read these things. So I understand when I talk like this, people look at me and they say, well, how are you any different? Have you followed behind me? Am I imposing my interpretations on the prophets, or am I letting the prophets define themselves? When I tell you that the founding fathers are Christian, did I go and impose my views onto the founding fathers, or did I just accept the founding fathers' word for it? I just read you just a handful of the pages and pages and pages that you could have grabbed. Well, Joe, you're just using the ones that meet your purposes. You didn't meet the ones where they said that they were atheists. That's because you won't find it. The closest they came was Thomas Paine with The Age of Reason, and Paine didn't go full atheist. He didn't. And he was destroyed by some of his best friends. His good friend Ben Franklin told him to take that thing home and burn it. The Age of Reason. He was destroyed by the founding fathers for that. These are the deists, I'm supposed to believe, that built this country. I didn't have to put my words into their mouth. They did that for me. I don't have to put my words into the prophet's mouth. I bow to capital T truth as best I can understand it. Once I do, I bow to it until I get a better understanding. I won't be able to learn. I won't be able to understand if I impose my will or my understanding on that of others. If I want to know what they did, how they did it, in the case of the founding fathers, if I want to know what the prophets were saying, I have to know how they're saying it. I've got to learn to understand it in their terms. So if you studied with me, you should know by now, I try hard not to do that. That's why there's a lot of stuff I don't understand, and I'll tell you I don't understand it. But I'm not imposing my understanding on the prophets when I read their prophecies. And that's why I'm so different from most of the people that Christians study. They're studying the interpretations of man and their own personal pet favorite ways of reading the scripture. I'm trying to read the founding fathers as they intended themselves to be understood. I'm trying to read the Bible the same way. How did the prophets intend it to be understood? And I see the cycles repeating. I see the cycles repeating, and I expect the same outcomes. Those outcomes are never good. I don't expect us to save this country. It's already under judgment. I can make that case, but I'm not going to try. You either see it or you don't. So why am I here still? One of my wife, BB, affectionately called BB on this show, Boss's Balls. One of her favorite shows is The Day After. And there's a line in that movie. It says, save as many as you can. Now, we're humans. We don't do the spiritual saving.
This is Lawrence, Kansas. Is anyone there? Anyone at all?
He's quoting from the movie. You don't save people. The Holy Spirit does that. But you can, like another friend of mine put it one time. He said the way he sees it is at the end of our lives, we're going to be before our Maker and make an account for ourselves. And we're going to have a bus. And that bus is going to be filled with everybody we tried to lead to the light. Now, it doesn't matter whether or not they eventually accept that or not. That bus is filled with all the people you tried to lead toward the Maker, toward the Father and his Son. Irrelevant of whether or not they're ever saved. That's not the point. Did you try to lead them there? So when I say save as many as you can, it means how many people did you get on that bus? Or did you invite on that bus with you? How many people did you try to encourage to seek capital T truth, the Son, the Messiah, the light, the truth, the life? He said that his fear is that his bus would be empty. That's my fear too. That at the end of my life, my bus will be empty. Worse, the fear is that I won't have gotten on that bus. I knew better and didn't do anything with it. I'm in good company. Paul prays the same prayer, that he be found worthy and that he not struggle in vain. Now, that article I shared with you about the rudderless society, why did it strike me so? Because it went to Jeremiah, the weeping prophet. I relate. I weep for my nation. So many people looking for the solution. What do we do? What do we do? John Adams told us we don't care. What did he say? The true revolution was in our religious sentiments. And it happened before the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, rather, was ever fought. He's talking about the Great Awakening, a great revival of closer to the truth, faith in the Creator and His Son. Well, I don't want that. Give me something else. There's only one way to salvation, brothers and sisters. There's only one natural law. I can't give you something else. That's it. You either follow that or you follow yourself. And that won't work. And it'll just lead to hatred and frustration. And the more people ask me, what do we do? The more I tell them, the less they listen. And the more I relate to Jeremiah. You can only change you. Now, our founding fathers, several of them, warned us of something. And it's an old known fact. It's almost a proverb. It's so old. And essentially, it's once you lose your morality, your virtue, it is almost impossible to get it back. That takes a very driven, disciplined individual. Recently, I realized I have lost almost all vestiges of my discipline. Not necessarily my morality, but when you lose your self-discipline, even though you still have your moral compass, you don't follow it. You're losing your virtue. So I came to the realization I have got a long, hard cliff to climb. It's not even uphill march. It's a cliff. And I'm going to have to climb it to get back to where I used to once be. I'm going to do it or die trying. Literally. How many Americans would join me? Not many. How many believers would join me doing the same thing with the true principles of their faith, the biblical faith? I'll have more people trying to regain the principles of this country and their personal virtue. I'll have more of them join me than I'll have believers, even though it's the same struggle, just with a different boss. You're struggling to regain your virtue, you're still your own boss. You struggle to regain the principles of your faith, you're not the boss at all. Somebody else is telling you how to live. And we just can't tolerate that. We want what we want, but we don't want anybody telling us how to live. And you know what that leads to? I saw a video on Facebook. It leads to a 30, 40-something-year-old woman, overweight, at the airport, lying on her back, stamping her feet, and pounding her fists on the ground and screaming like a grown toddler because she was told she'd have to pay extra because her check baggage was too heavy. When a grown adult throws a temper tantrum because she's not getting her way, when our society, the preponderance of our society becomes like that woman, you cannot fix that. You must erase it and start over. That's how the world works. Do not be surprised that this country is going to be erased. John Quest says everybody needs a Jiminy Cricket on their shoulder now. A Jiminy Cricket, or does everybody need the Jiminy Cricket on their shoulder? Because I think you know what I'm getting at, Brother Quest. I don't question you.
Yeah, but how many of us will take a fly swatter and swat that Jiminy Cricket until it's dead?
Charlie, I'm talked out for the day. And I'm pretty sure you kind of suspected that given the pre-show that we were talking about. But I have nothing else.
Yeah, but you've helped me with the message I'm writing here too. I've been working on that while you've been talking too. So, yeah, it's working really well here, actually. Yeah, yeah.
Anything to add? Anything on the board? I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer. I just want people to understand what you're facing so that you can deal with it efficiently, effectively, in a way that actually will work. I read you quotes from the men who told you.
Yeah.
Go back to the principles of your faith, the bedrock, the cornerstone.
That's where we got to go, because if we don't, we get in this, some people call it a pride cycle. It's this biblical cycle that I'm writing about here in my message that repeats over and over and over again in the biblical narrative, where the people, they turn to Yahweh, they, follow him, and they're blessed abundantly, and they do really, really well for a while. And then as they have all these blessings, they get comfortable with all these blessings, and then they start thinking that they're the reason for all these successes. And so they start saying, oh, hey, I did this. And then, of course, they start, saying, oh, I don't need Yahweh anymore. I can make my own idols, and I can worship my own way, or I can be my own God. And then they start into idolatry. And then, of course, then the blessings are withdrawn, because now they're getting those curses that are outlined in Deuteronomy for not following Yahweh's commandments. And then, all this stuff happens to them. And then they're like, well, what happened? We'll just build back better. We're 850 strong. We're going to do better. And then they just heap more and more upon them. And then eventually the wrath of Yahweh comes and wipes them out, except he's really nice, and he usually preserves a small remnant, at least if it involved any of his people. And then it starts all over again. And it's going over and over and over and over again. And, if you look at this nation, we're towards the end of that cycle where
are you saying that?
But
are you saying that hard times make good praying men? Good
yes.
praying men, good faithful praying men make good times, and good times make bad infidels, unappreciative, non-believing men, and non-believing men make bad times.
Yes. Yep. That's how it works. And if you think that cycle is going to change, I don't think so. But just be prepared, because that wrath part, that's coming pretty soon. So have your 3-point harness on, and get ready, because here it comes. Not that there's any indication of that anywhere, going on right now. just if you look at the Ring of Fire in the Pacific or around the Mediterranean, or, the wildfires across, the United States and Canada, and floods in the Bible Belt. None of this has anything to do with anything.
I don't know if it'll show
Nothing's
it,
going to
but
happen. There's nothing going on.
here's my list of stories about biblical signs, end time signs. And that's just from this year, folks. It's just from this year.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing going on. So nothing to see here. So, yeah.
All right, we'll wrap this one up for today.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
the happiest of shows. I know, I understand. But I'm not defeatist, and you shouldn't be either. You shouldn't be. I have hope. I know who wins this thing in the end.
Yeah. I have hope too.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's the
I
getting
also
there is
know
going to
that
suck.
Noah wasn't, popped off the earth and put in a nice cushy mansion while the flood came. He had to go build a ship, and he had to put all the animals in there, and he had to take care of all these animals over a little over a year or so on the water and everything. And then he had to, rebuild everything afterwards. Nothing, none of that has any applicability to us today, right?
No.
Noah, days of Noah. No, nothing. No.
All right, folks, we're going to wrap this up. We're going to have our Worship Wednesday on We Who Are Lost.
Yeah, we just started
We'll
today.
be there. Yeah, we just started early, threw you in the pew early. Friday, we're continuing our book studies. Chapters, I think I mistyped it. It's chapters 5, 6, and 7. Oh, wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5, 6, and 7. And we'll deal with the show, the book study on Friday. But this Wednesday, I have no idea what he's going to have me talking about. It'll come to me between now and then, or I'll just empty my mind and let him preach. We'll see. But if you're still got a foot in the political world and you're looking at our earthly kingdom, and that's part of the problem here. Believers are called to participate in this earthly, fleshly, material world. And if you go back and you go to the Road to Concord and you read those quotes the founding fathers were writing, they tell you have a duty, that you have a duty to God to be involved in your community. And that's part of why things have gone sideways, is because the remnant doesn't do that anymore. Just don't be one of them. Don't be idle. Don't be fruitless. Worry about the person in your mirror. Learn to see her or him more clearly. Through whatever lens you choose, I choose the Bible's lens in its original context. But I'm going to tell you, any other lens you choose is either going to be demonic. Well, any other lens you choose is demonic. Whether you're going to choose a different God, whether you're going to choose to follow yourself, some new age teaching, it's all going to be evil because it goes against the original created order of this world. That's just the way it is. If you don't like it, make different choices. You can only affect you and the people in your circle of influence. And the most effective way to influence people is not to beat them over the head with anything. It's to lead by example in a uncompromising way, even if it means you break fellowship with people. Difficult for a lot of people to do. They can't handle the emotional challenges of saying, you know what? I value my own principles over our friendship. We have to part ways over this. Well, Joe, that's not love. Oh, yes, that is. That, brothers and sisters, is agape. I'll break fellowship with you, but if you get sick, I'll still bind your wounds. If you're on hard times and you need food, I'll feed you. If you need clothing, I'll clothe you. I'll pray for you. But we're just not going to we're not going to have fellowship together. That's why our nation is in such disarray. There's no unity. There's no ideal. There's no target. There's no compass. And nobody will accept one. Everybody has assumed the seat of God in their own hearts and said that they are like the Most High, and they're all deciding how everybody else should live and throwing temper tantrums because they can't get other people to bow to their will. That's a recipe for destruction. I don't know how to stop it. All I know how to do is warn you that it's coming and encourage you to face it and get ready for it. However is going to be most effective for you in your world and your family. That's why I don't give you specifics. What's right for me, the survival for my family, may not be for yours. I do the best I can to teach the principle and allow you to apply it to your circumstances. If you think this is of any value, spread the word. Hit the like buttons, that helps. Share the show. Tell people what we're trying to do. Why do you find it valuable? Be a voice of reason, a voice of sanity. Point people to the exit door. Put them on that bus that leads to capital T truth, or invite them on the bus. If that's not us, point them wherever you think they can find it. Don't be found idle. That's our prayer for each and every one of you. We love you. We thank you for being here. If you're with us Wednesday, we'll see you then. If not, we'll be back here again next Monday. Until then, either way we go, y'all stay safe. Take care. Yahweh bless. Bye-bye. Charlie, hit the button, baby.